Hi students, welcome to Module 14. This is the last module that we're dealing with legal interpreting and translations. This week we're going to review some of the requirements for working in the federal courts. This is the module where you're going to find your study guide for your final exam. And then we're also going to go over the mock trial written translation requirement that you have for this week's assignment. So in the previous modules, we review what are the requirements and the Judicial Council being the entity that oversees the California Court Interpreters Program. What is going on? What are some of the new things? Programs like the Workforce Pilot Program. By now, you should know that there's 58 courts. There's the shortage of interpreters, and some of those questions are part of the final. So make sure that you know those answers. In this module, you're going to find a video from the federal courts as to what is the date like for an interpreter working for the federal courts. Now, it's really important that you know that the federal courts are they also have their own requirements, just like the California Judicial Council does, and they're also the testing is also done by Prometric. So I included here the link where you can see the video. It's also posted in your Canvas course, where you could see a tutorial on what that examination is, what is it composed of. So make sure that you review this if you want to be a court interpreter. Keep in mind that you have many options. You could be contracted, you could be a California court interpreter, or you could be an interpreter for the federal courts. I've also posted the most recent manual for the federal courts. This is the revised edition for 2024. Make sure, especially again, if you are interested in being a court interpreter, that you review this document. It is very lengthy, very comprehensive, talks about the different types of courts under the federal system and the judiciary, and then also what are some of the requirements for the court interpreting exam. Here's the link also where you can find your introduction to the federal court system. Very important that you understand how the different courts are organized, and also most important is that, especially now with the controversy going on with the immigration courts, that you understand that the immigration courts are not part of the federal courts. So make sure that you click on the link, and there's also a page there that takes you for the immigration courts, that you could know and understand that they're under the Department of Justice, and it's very different in terms of the requirements and the administrative process that takes place in the federal courts. So very important for you to know that the differences. Also very important is for you to know that if you're going to go into court interpreting, you need to know timelines. Timelines is one of the main parts of the written examination. Remember that the first part, if you want to become a court interpreter, you would need to pass the written examination. There's really no writing. It's a test that consists of multiple choice questions, but most of the questions there, a good chunk, have to do with the timelines for jury selection, or the timelines for a misdemeanor case, or other type of criminal cases or civil cases. So I've included here a link. I found a very good website from the San Diego District Attorney page, in which it takes you into this animated explanation of the different timelines. I highly encourage you, if you do want to be in this career, that you understand each of the procedures and what they entail. And this is an excellent one that I found. Explains, you just click on the number, and it explains to you what takes place in the arraignment, what takes place in the felony preliminary hearing, your second arraignment, your pre-trial, trial, judge of a jury, the jury selection, probation reports, and sentencing. Very, very comprehensive link. So make sure that, if you are interested in pursuing a career as a court interpreter, that you know those timelines. For this week in class exercise 14, you have a mock trial script, very simple. I also included the full mock trial for your reference, but you only have to translate these few sentences here for the mock trial. You need to do it in usted format. By that, I mean that you need to keep it very, very formal. Make sure that the verb tense matches the subject verb agreement. I made some corrections in some students. Some sentences las escriben en tú y con el verbo tú, y otras las escriben en usted. Entonces alternan, and that is not a correct sentence. So make sure that you're writing with the correct syntax. Also, do not translate the people as la gente. That's not the correct translation. Make sure you reference the glossaries to know what the correct translation is. I have a lot of glossaries there. Make sure you go with the California one. And you'll also have the interpreter's companion, and make sure, because you will get points. You will get points deducted if you do translate it as la gente. So that's your class exercise. You already practiced a side translate, interpreting consecutive or simultaneous for the arraignment in the previous module, but now you're going to do the mock trial written translation. For discussion 14, check please the Canvas course, because I do change the topics from spring to fall in the deadlines based on the holidays. So make sure that you check and to see what is the topic for your particular class. Very important is that you start reviewing the final and you start reviewing the study guide. There are no surprises in my quizzes. There's no surprises in the study guide. I give you all the questions, but you need to know where to find them. You need to organize yourself. That's why I had asked you to please download materials and have everything organized. Your final is 30% of your grade. You have 2 weeks. You have week 14 and 15 to prepare for your final. It's all multiple choice, true and false, and matching. It's very, very easy. Most of my students get an A and the B in the final for this introductory course. And there's some questions in the study guide where I'm going to even guide you and tell you where to go. So if you have missed quizzes, it's going to be difficult, because you're going to have to go and do some due diligence and look for the answers. Again, the study guide, very, very simple. It's all the questions are there. You need to do your due diligence, find the answers. If you've been watching the video lectures, you will not have a problem finding the answers. And then I'm going to have office hours. Please check in the announcement the date for your class. It's completely optional. I hold them for 30 minutes for each class, closer to the finals exams week, to go over possibly any doubts, any clarification, points of confusion that students might have regarding the final exam. And you only have one attempt. It's not like the quizzes that you can have a second attempt for the final. You only have one attempt and you cannot retake it. If you missed it past deadline, I cannot open the final for you, because I need to submit my grades to admissions and records within a few days after you take your final. And I have a few classes, so I have to finalize all my grades. Also make sure that you know when is the last day for your final. All my classes have different deadlines for their final exam, and I teach 3 classes of BA 130. So make sure that you are aware of those deadlines. Again, very important for you to know deadlines, especially if you have a class where you have 2 to 3 modules due within the last couple of weeks. So make sure that you comply with those. Make sure you know your deadline for submitting missing assignments as well. I do not open discussions. Those are mandatory weekly as part of a high quality online course. We need to communicate with each other. You need to have interactions with your classmates, and you need to participate weekly in the weekly discussions. Again, check the announcements. I post frequently for this class. I have an audiogram, a podcast. So just make sure that, or an audio or a podcast, depending if it's a 16, 12, or 8-week class. So very important that you check the announcements for dates. And you did it. This is the last stretch of the course. You have very, very few assignments left. Really, really excited for your next step in your journey. And again, I want to thank you for taking this class. It's been an outstanding honor meeting all of you, reading your assignments, learning about your goals, your ambitions, all the untapped talents that you have. And make sure that you also reach out after this course is it's finalized. If you ever need anything, you have my email from Santa Ana College. I usually give recommendations as well for students that are applying for the SAC Student Scholarship. Remember that there's money there, and unfortunately, not that many students apply. So make sure that you take advantage of those opportunities. Have a great week.